Welcome to Night guys. It's your host, the Night Wrencher. Now, if you guys are following me on Instagram, you guys will know that I just picked up this 1977 Dodge D200 Club Cab. And not only is it a Club Cab, it is a Club Cab long bed. I'm not too interested in the long bed part of the truck, but I am interested in the Club Cab. They seem to be a little bit more rare and harder to attain than the standard single cab. And then the crew cabs are even harder than that. So I'm happy I was able to get my hands on this for a pretty reasonable price. The truck is pretty much complete. Usually for the price that I buy these things, you end up getting them pretty much as a basket case. As you guys can see, I have a couple more just chilling back there, and I don't end up parting them out. I just kind of put them away and store them, and if I ever need parts, I take them apart. But this one in particular, I have a plan to get this thing up and running. So first things first, I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a walk around of what this truck is like. Overall, in terms of rust, these trucks have a really bad rusting problems, but even around the fender wells and the wheel wells, there's not a lot of rust. There's not a lot of rust in the bed at all. It's all seems to be just surface rust. The back window seems to be all intact, and all the glass is still there, which is good because it's really hard to get a hold of these windows, and I wasn't looking to replace them anytime soon. The roof is in decent shape, not excellent shape. It does seem to have a little bit of rust spots right here, which I'm gonna have to fix, but that's pretty common on not just Club Cab, any kind of these Dodges this year. They seem to have rust up here on the top corners. The doors are in fairly decent shape. They open and they close, which is always a plus, but I'm planning on switching those out. It is an 8-lug truck, 2-wheel drive, so the front suspension is all just a standard 3/4 ton truck suspension. Fenders are in decent shape. The truck body is okay. It's smashed in a little bit, but if you love these trucks enough, you are able to fix them up if you need to. The hood is in decent shape. There's no rust holes. It does have surface rust, but there's no rust holes, and it just has the standard 77 grill up in the front. If we go ahead and take a look inside, you guys can see that the interior has been changed a little bit. So obviously that door has been installed after the fact. That's not the standard door that's supposed to be in here. This bench seat is not supposed to be here, and in fact, with this bench seat scooted all the way back, you actually can't even sit here. You have only about 3 inches of space between the seat and the steering wheel, so it's actually almost impossible to get yourself in there, especially a bigger guy like me. Smaller guys will probably have an easier time. This dash has actually been completely wrecked. Doesn't even have the bezel anymore. It does have the dash cover, but the bezel is completely gone. It looks like the factory clock is still here. At the very least, they didn't completely destroy everything. This was an AC truck, looks like, so it does have the AC controls right there, and it does have the vents. So I might actually repurpose this dash for some of my other projects. It has a cargo lamp switch, which is actually a pretty rare option. This does have the cargo lamp and the interior lamp right there. The inside of the cab looks like it's in excellent shape, and overall the floors are in great shape as well. This was a California truck all of its life, and it never really saw the ocean, but time did wear a little bit on the body, but not as bad as I've seen on other trucks. Everything, it seems to be mostly here. Everything's just really poorly worn out. Somebody added this amp gauge, which is not typically supposed to be there. It's usually part of the actual assembly. This assembly is probably shot. None of it probably works, so I'm going to be ripping all of that out. And typical Dodge destroyed wiring from previous owners. I don't know what it is about these Dodge trucks, but every single one that I've seen has the harnesses just completely mangled. So I didn't really talk about the drivetrain yet, but this is a 440 727 combination truck, which is pretty desirable, especially for people looking to rip that out and put it in their muscle cars. Everybody seems to really like the 727. The only thing you really change to put them into the cars, you change the tail housing for one made for a car. The ones for a truck don't seem to line up very well with the stock geometry in the older muscle cars. But what's interesting about this truck is allegedly this used to be a small block 360 truck, and then down the road somebody has swapped in a 440. I didn't actually decode the VIN, so I can't say for sure, but there are signs that this has been swapped before, especially because I believe that's the wrong exhaust manifold for this engine, and somebody seemed to have cut the frame in order to make that fit. So as far as I know, those exhaust manifolds are for the cars, not for the trucks, or they could be for an RV. This could be an RV 440. The only reason I know it's a 440 is I went ahead and I sanded down the pad. So you guys can check right here next to the distributor. There's a pad and it says 7T440, so it's from 1977, and it's a 440 truck. It has the last 4 or 5 of the serial right there. It's really hard to see. The other symbols here is an E, telling me that it's a cast crankshaft and not a forged crankshaft. And below that, there's a cross right next to an X, which I don't know what that means. It's probably just indication of where it was manufactured. So those symbols don't really mean anything to me except for the fact that it is a 440 engine. If you look on this side as well, you guys can tell that the frame has been chopped as well. So at the very least, those exhaust manifolds don't belong on this truck. The bench seat does not belong in this truck. And if we look here, we have more hacked up Dodge wiring. Basically, I'm assuming they came factory with all these wiring nuts, because every single truck that I've seen has a setup similar to that. There are some other signs here that these engines has been modified. For example, this radiator doesn't look like it belongs here because this doesn't really align here, or if it does belong here, it's bolted on using the wrong holes, which would also make sense, and it does kind of look like it's in the wrong hole, so that doesn't line up. Also, the fact that it looks like they took a plasma cutter or something, they cut off part of this bracket. It does look like this was an AC truck, so you guys can see right there it has the AC fittings, and then next to that has the heater fittings, but I do not see an AC compressor. So somewhere down the line, somebody removed the AC compressor off of this truck, probably to turn it into a race truck or something. I don't know why you would remove the AC, but that seems to be something that has happened. Chances are that I won't be able to actually just hook up a battery to this and watch it go, mainly because that wiring for that is completely gone. I see the starter solenoid right there, and I see a couple other wires that I can tap into, but as for the main wires for the battery, those are completely gone, nowhere to be found. So if I want to try to start this, I'm going to have to jump it by adding a couple other things. As you guys can see, they're running the spark plug cables underneath the manifold and to the front. I don't know if that's standard, but that is not normal on all the 440 trucks that I have seen. And as you guys can see here, they've done some pretty Mickey Mouse stuff with the alternator as well. That probably used to go to the battery, and they decided to cut it up. So I will be tearing down this truck completely, all the way down to bare bones. I'm going to try to save whatever I can save, and the rest is going to be repurposed for other vehicles. Anything that's way too far gone, I'm going to be eliminating or recycling. So that's all going to be gone. Most of these parts are going to be able to be saved though, so I'm pretty happy about that. Let me know what you guys think about this truck in the comments below. I will see you guys all in the next one. Night Wrencher out.